Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I'm stepping in as your wildlife disease expert today for a quick but absolutely crucial field safety briefing on hantavirus. If you're a hiker, a forestry worker, a researcher, or maybe just someone opening up that family summer cabin, you really need to hear this. We're going to dive into the science behind how this virus operates in the wild, and more importantly, how you can protect yourself from a pathogen you can't even see.
Here's our itinerary. We'll cover the invisible threat itself, how climate drives rodent booms, the mechanics of aerosol transmission, early warning signs of infection, and finally, the essential safety protocols you need in the field.
All right, Section 1, the invisible outdoor threat.
So let's establish exactly what we're dealing with here. Meet our main carriers, the seemingly harmless deer mouse and the white-footed mouse. In the Americas, these specific rodents, along with the cotton rat and rice rat, are the natural reservoirs for the hantaviruses that cause hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, or HPS.
Now, the real biological trick of hantavirus is that in rodents it causes an asymptomatic, persistent infection. The crucial takeaway for us? These mice don't look sick at all. They carry the virus and shed it in their urine, feces, and saliva for their entire lives without ever showing a single symptom. This makes the danger practically invisible to hikers and outdoor workers. You just can't rely on seeing a sick or dying mice to warn you of a hantavirus risk.
Moving on to Section 2, climate, rainfall, and rodent booms.
This is a really fascinating ecological dynamic where the weather directly dictates your risk level out in the field. Heavy rains or massed years of extreme seed production create a massive food supply, and boom, you get a huge surge in the rodent population. A textbook example of this is the 1993 Four Corners outbreak in the U.S. An El Niño event brought heavy rainfall after years of drought. This caused pinyon pine nuts and local flora to just explode, which led to a tenfold increase in the deer mouse population. Suddenly, the interface between humans and infected rodents expanded massively.
But listen, it's not just the rain we have to worry about. Whether it's a wet season causing a population boom in the forests or a severe drought forcing desperate rodents into our camps, cabins, and work sites looking for water and food, extreme weather drastically increases our interaction with these hosts. And with climate change actively shifting these risks geographically, this is becoming a growing safety concern for anyone working or playing in the outdoors.
Which brings us to Section 3, aerosol transmission in the field.
Okay, so now we know why these rodents are in our spaces. But how does the virus actually enter our bodies? Well, usually it's not from a bite. It happens through aerosolization. That's the release of microscopic viral particles into the air when rodent nests, urine, or droppings get disturbed. The absolutely critical point here is that just sweeping out an abandoned shed, tossing a contaminated sleeping bag, or vacuuming a cabin can kick up these particles. You unknowingly inhale that contaminated dust right into your lungs, initiating a severe and potentially fatal respiratory infection.
Now, here's a question I get all the time. You might be wondering, hey, if the cabin's been empty for weeks and the droppings are bone dry, is the dust still dangerous?
The answer is a massive yes. The virus is surprisingly tough outside of its host. It can survive for 10 days at standard room temperature, 15 days in temperate environments, and over 18 days when temperatures drop to around 39 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius. It is incredibly resilient in cool, shaded nests, which, unfortunately, is exactly the environment a trail shelter, a closed-up hunting cabin, or a dark barn provides.
Let's move to Section 4, early signs of infection. Knowing this stuff is quite literally the difference between life and death. You need to pay close attention to the distinct phases of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. After an incubation period of anywhere from 1 to 8 weeks, the early phase hits with sudden flu-like symptoms. You really want to watch out for deep muscle aches in large muscle groups. We're talking your thighs, hips, back, and shoulders. But here's where it gets terrifying. It can rapidly shift to the severe cardiopulmonary phase, where capillary leakage causes your lungs to literally fill with fluid, leading to severe shortness of breath and shock. The case fatality rate for HPS is high, sitting between 30 and 60%.
Because those early signs identically mimic the flu or even COVID-19, your doctor might not immediately suspect a rare rodent-borne pathogen. Communication is key here. You must proactively tell your healthcare provider about your outdoor work, your camping trips, or that dusty shed you cleaned out. That context tells them to test for hantavirus and start supportive oxygen therapy immediately. Finally, Section 5, essential field safety protocols.
All right, we've covered the biology, the weather, and the disease. Let's get into the actionable standard operating procedures you absolutely must use to protect yourself and your crew out there. Public health guidance emphasizes a strict three-step protocol. First, seal up. Mice can squeeze through a hole the width of a pencil, just 1/4 of an inch. Use steel wool or caulk to block them. Second, trap up. Stick to snap traps. Why avoid live traps or glue boards? Well, stressed rodents urinate more, which drastically increases that aerosol risk we just talked about. And third, clean up, which requires some very specific methods.
When it comes to cleaning a work site or cabin, there are non-negotiable rules. Never, ever dry sweep or vacuum mouse drop-ins. Instead, ventilate the space for at least 30 minutes before you do anything. Then, put on rubber gloves, spray the droppings with a 10% bleach solution, and let it soak for 5 to 10 minutes. That effectively drowns and destroys the virus before you wipe it up with paper towels. Furthermore, keep your camp clean. Store all human and pet food in thick plastic or metal containers, and keep wood piles and compost at least 100 feet away from your living quarters so you don't draw them in. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. The environment is shifting. Climate changes are altering rodent habitats, potentially bringing hantaviruses into areas with very little prior exposure. Knowing how this virus survives in the dust and can so easily aerosolize into our lungs, are you prepared to treat every dusty trail, cabin, rural shed, and woodpile as a potential hazard? Stay safe out there, respect the environment, and always remember to ventilate and wet clean your spaces.